Hello, welcome to the It's Your Time show with me, your host, Abigail Barnes. I am so excited that we get to hang out today, either live or on audio if you're listening to this on the podcast. Today, I am joined by an amazing guest, Emma Boardman, who I will tell you a little bit about in a minute. But if this is our first time hanging out, then each week we bring you transformational stories from entrepreneurs and professionals around the world who are sharing their life-changing experiences to give you, the listener, proof of what's possible after adversity, as well as inspiring and motivating you to take control of your life and take action on your dreams. So today I am joined by the amazing Emma Boardman. Our session is all about trusting your intuition, letting go, and leveling up. As you're joining us, let us know where you're joining from and say hi as well. And if you have any questions throughout this episode, leave them in the comments. So as I said, this week on the It's Your Time show, I'm joined by Emma Boardman, who is the founder of Emma Boardman Communications. She is a multi-hyphenated entrepreneur with over 35 years of experience in a huge variety of industries and sectors. From playing the role of a CanCan Girl in the Legionnaire movie with Jean Claude Van Damme to dancing on TV shows such as Top of the Pops and MTV, Emma's also been in music videos for the likes of Pulp, Enigma and the Nightcrawlers, as well as frequently being cast as an actress and model in TV and print commercials. She has also been a stunt double for Angelina Jolie in the Tomb Raider movie. Now, in the 2000s, let's say, Emma worked for a huge number of corporate clients and luxury brands such as BP, Givenchy, BT, Marc Jacobs, T-Mobile, Betfair, MTV Europe, Calvin Klein, etc., as well as owning a 3,000-piece costume collection, which was curated by the costume designer from the Monty Python movies. Now, sadly, Studio Boardman was forced to close its doors in 2008 as the global recession at the time made it impossible for her to trade, and business administration was the only option. Like many serial entrepreneurs, Emma has found that she's learned more from going through the things that failed in business than she ever did with the things that went right. Her next stage of her career, she saw herself turning motherhood into a 9-language Amazon original learning program called Bambino Legal.
Bambini Lingo.
Bambini Lingo.
That's the effort the other day. Someone called it linguini.
And this is for preschoolers. And this saw Emma establishing herself as an international children's songwriter. Emma Boardman, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on, Abigail. It does sound quite a trip, doesn't it?
It sounds absolutely incredible. And I'm so excited for people who are joining us to hear this roller coaster of experience, this life experience career that you have been on. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. I'm pulling all of this together and reading it all. I am absolutely mind blown. So I can't wait for this conversation today, like where it's going to go. And we would love to hear from you, the listener, the viewer. Share your questions and let us know where you are joining from. And if you're listening on the replay, then say replay in the comments as well, because we'd love to know in the future. So let's start the episode. Tell us what 4-year-old Emma was like.
Well, she was kind of pretty similar to this one today, just even more lively, full of creativity. I was incredibly strong when I was a kid, like superhuman, weirdly strong. I think as a baby, I used to muscle out of my cot and climb out, but before I was even 1. So that and having lots of energy, my parents sent me to gymnastics to burn it off, and I ended up getting quite good and getting into kind of serious training from a really young age. So 4-year-old me was a lively little gymnast, mostly running around in a leotard.
Amazing. I love that. Such a, and it's quite funny, right? So when I was reading your story, and you, obviously we have condensed Emma's story to just give you sort of a snapshot overview. So I read that Emma had done gymnastics when she was younger. And then I read that you had been this stunt double for Angelina Jolie. And I was like, no wonder. Your life is always adding up to where you end up sort of going on the journey. So I could see you performing some of those moves.
I think most kids do gymnastics or some kind of physical activity as a kid. And obviously mine became very ingrained in my life, and I did a lot of it. And I was also in dancing and trampolining and swimming to county level. Did a very structured childhood as a little one. And obviously jumping forward a few years, when it came to choosing what you do as a career after, when you get the careers college stuff going on at school, and I'm kind of looking at university options and career options, everything looked so dull and so boring. I jumped around my whole life just basically having fun. So why does that have to stop? The thought of sitting still in a university lecture hall was my idea of hell. I was like, what am I going to do? I'll be a gymnast forever, or can I not? So my little sister was a good dancer, and she was talking about going to dancing college and stage school. And I was like, that sounds like fun. So I applied and actually got accepted, even though I wasn't actually that good at dancing because I hadn't done that much of it at the time. But it led me, again, kick-started and trampolined my way into a world where I could play with all of the skills that I kind of had from before.
I love that. And it's just all a path, isn't it? All step by step by step. And it just adds up. One conversation with one person leads to maybe I'll try this, to maybe I won't. So we're going to get on to your sort of secret sauce for embracing that fear of not doing it before, and then actually just doing it. But before we get to that, let's talk about what success meant to you as you were growing up.
Well, my mother had a very wealthy friend, and we didn't grow up with that much money. Money was always quite a struggle within the family, and it wasn't a very positive word. And I remember this friend, and everything about her was calm and relaxed and happy and easy. And she didn't actually work herself, but her husband had made a lot of money, and he retired really early, and they had time to do anything, anywhere, anytime, the things that they chose. There was no stress. There was no all the anxiety around money and bills that I was brought up with, which I found incredibly stressful. And I aspired to that for success for me. Success was having choices. Success was having no stresses. Success was no worry, no arguing.
I love that. And I'm sure so many people can identify with that as well. So apart from this sort of family, if you like, who else influenced you on your journey?
My grandma was fabulous. And she always wore her coat off her shoulder without her arms in it. And as a kind of style icon, just looking so chic. So she definitely influenced me in a style, and kind of, I wanted to be as chic as that. And I constantly now wear my coat without my arms in and feel amazing. I don't know why.
I love that. That's so fabulous. And I think it's so
a chic, easy, fun life. And I thought, how far can I get by in life by not doing things the hard, grafty, obvious way?
Yeah, I love that. So I think that we should really kind of dive into this bit, because for me, you are the epitome of everything that we're told not to do.
Exactly.
Without that sounding like an insult, because I actually am getting to the stage where I believe that a lot of what we're told to do, it's not making us happy. So you have just followed your intuition, followed the signs, said yes to the things that perhaps you weren't ready for. What's your secret sauce, your thinking behind that? What was the stories that were going through your head throughout your life? Every time it was like, should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Or does that not even come into your head?
I don't tend to weigh things up analytically at all. sometimes to the detriment of things. But I really do listen to how I feel. And if something feels right for me, I just dive in. And I actually love diving into things I know nothing about. It gives me such a thrill. Because I think there's an expectation around an industry or a sector where you know a lot about it and you've done the homework, the nuances and the rules and everything else. Like, for example, I always thought that I should have created kind of a fitness program or a workout, because I've worked physically from the age of 2 till nearly 30, and done a lot of anatomy, physiology, worked with my body so many ways. I do my own workout every day. I've created a fitness program just for me, and I always felt like it would be an obvious thing to put that out but it feels too obvious for me, and I know so much about it, I'm actually put off it. Does that make sense? So the less I know about an industry, the more appealing it is for me just to dive straight in, not knowing anything about it, and figure it out as I go along.
And that makes so much sense when we talk about one of your businesses, Bambini Lingo, where how on earth, like, I have a child, maybe it would be useful if they learn some languages. How about other people learn some languages? How about I just create this, package this, sell this, create a licensing deal with Amazon, and yeah.
No, it's mad. The whole thing was a trip. So I'll openly say I wasn't somebody who was desperate for a baby. I didn't feel like I had my maternal instinct, really. And I just got to a point where we'd got married, and my ex-husband said, "So should we try for a baby?" You know? Okay, I wasn't badly against it. I just didn't feel like it was something that I desperately needed to do. So we have a beautiful little baby. And I remember being in Weybridge, where we were living at the time, and this little thing being like, "So what do we do with you?" But I'm going to make the most of this. It's not an experience that I even expected to have. So now I'm here. What are we going to do? And I found the early years with the baby quite monotonous. I was used to having a really dynamic, crazy life, and that to be quite housebound and stuck. And I remember a friend called me and said, "So how is it being a new mum?" I said, "Kind of good, but the weird thing is, everywhere I go, he has to come too." And she laughed. She's like, "Welcome to the world of being a mother." It was just bizarre. You can't just get up and leg it out the door, the baby and all the paraphernalia. But I lasted 6 months looking after Luca on my own. And then I said to my husband, "We need some help here, because I'm going crazy." I just felt trapped. He was working long hours and coming home late. I was just like, oh my God, it felt endless, those early baby days. So we decided to bring someone in to live in with us who would help with whatever we needed help with. She was nanny based, but she'd do other stuff. And first weekend she was on duty, Luca was 6 months old. I went for a really relaxing sleep, a really deep sleep for the first time in a lot of months. And I had a lucid dream. And this dropped into, it was so powerful. I woke up like a zombie, went on to 123 Reg and registered the domain for the name that I'd been dropped. I dreamt the brand name, the concept, this idea I was going to create one of the biggest language learning tools for babies in the world. That's ridiculous. I'm not into kids. I'm not into languages, and I'm definitely not into education. Why me? And it felt like, what am I supposed to do? But I was kind of like, the zombie went downstairs, spoke to the Italian nanny. We got an Italian one because my ex-husband's half Italian, and I'd read in an article that week that babies and children are linguistic geniuses up until the age of 5, and then after that natural ability leaves. So that had obviously stuck in my head, putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 25. And I said to the nanny, "So we're going to be starting with some Italian baby classes in the living room." And she's like, "What? She's only been on duty about a week." And that's what we did. And I wrote the program. It was shit, actually. I just invited all my friends with babies round, and I ended up getting the Prosecco out because they didn't really have enough content. It's Italian, after all. But like I say, if you don't know something, or you've got a gap in your knowledge, or there's a hole in what you need to know, ask, because somebody somewhere has what you're looking for. So it's just about, I've gone through my life thinking I know nothing. I mean, I started as a dancer. So going into business, I've always felt on the back foot. What do I know? A little blonde dancer. I look so young for so many years as well. So I'm like, okay, who do I know that can help me fill these gaps? And I found a friend, she was a linguist, so she helped me write some of the earlier programs that padded it out. And this thing took off like crazy. We were in 5 languages in about 6 months. And again, I was in Weybridge. How did I find a Mandarin teacher? I don't know. It just happened. And I guess I was putting all of that pent up energy that hadn't worked for a while into that project. And it's amazing when you just follow the instinct, the impulses again and again and again. What is possible? It shouldn't be possible on paper. And I think that's what I amaze myself when I look back and think, how did that happen? I don't know.
Wow. I absolutely love that. And this is liquid gold for anybody who's listening who might have an idea in the back of their mind and they're just like, I don't know how to do it. And this actually stopped me for so many years to start my own business because I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know anybody who did it. I didn't, people like me didn't do it. That was just one of the big stories that I told myself.
But people like who? I mean, if you start thinking about that, nobody should be doing anything. And I think I proved to myself this method in the madness of just leaping and the net appears. And
I love that.
Leap. I leaped since I was 2 all the way into everything. And I think because everything was so extraordinarily ridiculous, it's made me so super bold. What the heck are we going to do next?
So for you, what does trusting your intuition look like then on a daily basis?
Firstly, to even hear your intuition, you need to be quiet enough and calm enough and not surrounding yourself with people all the time and noise and distractions and the TV on and obviously I like music, but sometimes the music annoys me and I just like the quiet and the calm. And I think checking in with yourself is when you start to be able to hear it and learning to trust it. And the more you hear it and the more you trust it, the stronger that gets. So I'm incredibly sociable, but I don't like being around people all the time because I feel I get disconnected from it when it's too busy and there's too many people talking and a lot of small talk. And I find it irritating.
I hear you on that, and I guess sort of some of the audience will be familiar with like the MBTI tests and things where you can test out your personality. And I would say that I'm always an introverted extrovert, and it shocks people because they're like, but you like doing these things, you're so good. I'm like, but I also like my alone time. So I guess that is one of Emma's golden nuggets there for you is in order to hear yourself and your own inner voice and your intuition, you need to spend time on your own.
I know a lot of people are terrified of spending time on their own.
So would that be for you like meditating, taking a walk, doing some yoga? Because sometimes people ask like, well, I don't know how should I be on my own?
I know. I mean, I can spend hours and days on my own and be totally unaware of time and space and reality. But I think it is meditation obviously really brings you down deep into that space. And that's a good way to bring it into your everyday. I try to sit, even it's just 10 minutes quietly every day, either for guided audio or just to breathe, listen, checking in with your breathing. And it sounds so simple. It's crazy that more of us aren't doing it all the time. So that's the simplest way. But even say just walking around, noticing things when you're walking around. I mean, get your head out your phone, just see stuff, see people, see faces. Just I think be on your own, but aware. And the more aware we are, the more everything kind of comes up. And the more aware you are, the more you feel. Is there an impulse? Does something feel good or does something not feel good? And you have to cut out the distractions to feel that. And I literally like something comes up. Does that make me feel good? Am I drawn to it? Or is it making me feel like retracting? And that's literally, I mean, I'm pleased. I'm 48 next month. And I'm so pleased that I can finally explain how I operate, because for years I thought people used to call me Mad Emma. Oh, you're fucking mad. Well, what are you going to do next? And I'd be like, what's mad in like living your highest, most brilliant, fun life? What's mad about that? Mad to me is being depressed in a shit job for 30 years.
I love this because you're literally just preaching your way of life and your way of living. And I truly believe that if we see what's possible for somebody else, then it gives our brain the opportunity to say, well, if it's possible for them, it could be possible for me. And it starts to break these constructs of, no, it always has to be like this. And that's Einstein's quote about insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting to get a different result. So I love that you're sort of sharing your process and your way. And there isn't just one way. There isn't like, this is the only way. And if you don't do it by this age, then it's never going to work. And yeah, I love it. So throughout your career and your life, things have changed. What have been like major catalysts, would you say, for change? And perhaps what's been like the biggest things that you've learned along the way that have then informed your next steps?
I think each of my professional chapters has been a very, very distinct chapter and very different. And the catalysts were caused by external things out of my control, but almost felt like they dropped in at the right time to create that change. And then hindsight on the other side of into the next chapter, even though at the time it might have been really hard and really confusing why things weren't working out with that, I could see that time was up. And if I'd gone back and thought about how I was feeling within that role at that time, I knew that time was up. But sometimes we just keep flogging that horse, just to go a bit further, rinse a few more miles out of it. And I think it's difficult when there's a business and there's staff and there's overheads and there's everything, because like, you know, we mentioned in 2008 when the recession put me out of business with my first company. At the time, it was devastating. And we did fabulous productions and very, very over the top elaborate events and parties. And people couldn't be seen to be doing that during that recession. And even if they had the budget, they were so sorry, but we're going to have to, it's not cool to do it right now. It's like doing a party in COVID. They just couldn't do it. And there were some clients, some international clients who kept popping the orders in. So I thought that I could trade out of it. Although a hole had appeared in our turnover, I was chasing the things that were coming up, thinking that would just get us through it. That would get us through it. But what I did is just made the hole bigger. So that was obviously just a big lesson. When the hole starts to appear, don't try and trade out of it, because that's often a big sign. So that was the catalyst, that I had to close that. And it was a really, really difficult time afterwards. I felt like such a loser. I'd employed a lot of my friends. It was painful. And I did learn an awful lot during that. So that led me into the marriage part of my life. And had I still been working 24/7 building my empire, I wouldn't have stopped to get married and have a baby. So that then defined that period. And then obviously Luke was born, we get a nanny. I'm itching to think again and do something with myself. So dreaming the idea for Bambini Lingo was a godsend that dropped in. So boom. So that was that chapter. And then Bambini Lingo I ran for nearly 10 years.
Wow.
Through the life of my son. That was it's defined his childhood. And
but how awesome for him to have seen that from his birth the idea was born, and then, you know, it has continued and it goes on to continue to impact the lives of millions around the world. It was so amazing the other day to be in a room and hear sort of somebody tell Emma, who didn't know Emma, that her child had been using the product, and how awesome.
In America as well. That was so cool. That was such a lovely, authentic drop, because I've obviously, not everyone knows Bambini Lingo. It started as a mum and baby class. I franchised it across Europe. and that was the part I found more difficult. And all the time I wanted our own music. We were using translated nursery rhymes up until a point. And to everybody, I was like, I want my own music. I want my own music. I want my own music. And obviously, people are like, looks like it's going really well. Yes, but I still don't have my own music on repeat. And then finally, when I was living here in Mallorca, I used to be in a band in Germany, and the lead singer came to visit for a holiday in the summer. I said, it looks like it's going really well, but I still don't have my own music. And he said, hold on a minute. I know somebody who just happens to be like the leading kids music producer in Germany. Maybe you need to jump on a call and put us on a call there and then. And he loved the project and took equity in the company to create it and said, but you need to write the songs. And I said, well, I've never actually written the song before, but I'll have a go. I mean, again, I knew the content and the feeling of the song, so I just took myself away, like, okay. I wrote the first one. I was so embarrassed sending it to him. I was like, don't laugh, but I've written the Hello song. And he's like, I love it. It's brilliant. And his confidence in me gave me the confidence to finish the album. And again,
love it.
Yeah.
But this is like this is a lesson in synchronicities, in trusting the process, in knowing what it is that you want and not stopping yourself from wanting it because you don't have a plan for how it's going to happen. And I mean, obviously this show is all about sort of giving people inspiration about what's possible. And to caveat all of this, we live in a physical world. You need a roof over your head, you need the bills to be paid, you need food, etc., etc. But if you take anything away from this show today, take away what is possible and what can actually be built alongside whatever it is that you're doing. Many people start their businesses as side hustles. Many people take an action step or even join a business that is more aligned with their values and what it is. So let's kind of really focus in then on this concept of leveling up. How can we level up in 2022?
Well, leveling up is obviously also my title, which the lovely Iffy Thomas coined for me last year. So how can we level up? How can you level up? I want to work as a level up consultant with individuals, taking them a little bit through this bold process of trusting and just pushing the boundaries and the perspectives on what they're doing. And I think that we all need, so I'm just getting my son in from school, but he's no. And I think that we all need to lean further into ourselves. We need to go deeper because I think we can only rise by going as deep as we can possibly, as we can manage. And I think it kind of it sounds like an antidote. We're leveling up, but we need to go deep before we come up. And I think the quieter and the more we can know ourselves and the more we can listen to ourselves is where it's at.
Amazing. I love it. And I love that we're recording this authentically because life happens, things happen, you know. We're working from home, we've got traffic. I don't know what's going on outside, but the traffic is crazy. People come home from school.
Just walked in from school.
We haven't seen the cat yet. Emma's got this gorgeous cat. But what I'd love to love the message that people could just, if you can believe it, if you can dream it, then you can do it. And in the moments when you're doing the things and you're finding the joy and you're having the fun. And if you listen to Emma's story where she said, you know, I did gymnastics when I was a kid, and then she ends up being a stunt woman on somebody's movie. And I was in this band, and then this person ends up helping her to create the music for her business. So if you look at this story as a timeline, and you can, with the time, look back and see the pieces. It was Steve Jobs who said you can only join up the dots when you look back. But when you're going through the things and you're doing the things, and you might have the voices in your head of, should I be doing this? Shouldn't I be doing this? I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I want to do this. Is this the right thing? Is everybody doing this? Can I do this? What is the good thing to be doing right now? And it just gets more and more and more and more and more. What Emma is sharing with us today is that the process is about finding the joy, finding the fun, and recognizing that things will all slot into their places. And from what I'm hearing her share is that her concept of leveling up is when you start to see yourself from this identity of, this is what I want to do. So what needs to move, shift, change, and rearrange so that I can step into this person? So do I need to get up earlier in the morning? Do I need to spend less time on social media? Do I need to move more? Do I need to look at what I'm eating? Do I need to look at who I'm hanging out with? Do I, because what you're doing is getting you what you've got. If you want something different, this is what Emma's talking about with leveling up, that it's about questioning all of the things and looking and taking different actions. And Jacqueline is saying that she's got so many ideas in her head, and I absolutely love that. So what's one piece of advice, with the benefit of hindsight now, Emma, that you would give to your younger self that you believe would sort of help others out there who might be on this precipice of, is now the time to leap? Should I leap? I don't know if leaping is a good idea. I don't know how to leap. Do you understand?
And how young are we talking about? Obviously, I've said a lot. I would definitely tell them to trust themselves. That's the biggest lesson you can learn. But if it feels off, it probably is. And it's probably not a good idea. And again, it's just, and also I think when you're making decisions, which I've done very quickly, very rapidly, and many, many times, not necessarily looking at the detail, but just feeling that this is something I need to do. I do check in with myself and think, how's this decision going to affect me in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, for example? And
that's a brilliant framework.
Just gives me and my mad intuition a little bit of guidance to say, okay, this feels like the best thing in the world today, but what could the impact on this be 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? Check, check, check. Okay, let's go for it.
I love that. So trust your intuition, but give yourself a beat or a minute to, or perhaps even sleep on it. I know there's this whole adage of, you need to be able to make a decision right now. And then there's the alternative camp of, I need to sleep on it. And I used to sort of be in this middle ground. I used to beat myself up so much that if I couldn't make the decision right now, and you know what I tend to do now, and I don't know where you are on this, but I'll make the decision, like in my body, it will feel like a yes or a no, but I will give myself the gift of a night to double check.
Yes, the time is really important. And maybe having a special somebody sometimes. Obviously, I'm not a fan of asking too many people. So when you know, and actually I can get really frustrated by people trying to take you off what you know. So when I'm in the creative process, I'm very protective around it. It's my baby, which I'm nurturing and growing. But I do trust my darling gentleman, who's obviously possibly watching, to, if I did want to double check something, but mostly I keep sitting in it and giving it just that breathing space. Because sometimes the thing that's a great idea today, it's not so sexy in the morning, is it?
Yeah, and I think it sort of comes to this thing of trust, like what is for you, it's a biblical phrase, will never pass you by. So if it's like, you've absolutely got to make this decision right now, I mean, obviously, if it's a plane or a boat or a train or something, and it's like, it's going now, or you'll have to wait till tomorrow. But I think that with the majority of decisions that we get to make, sleeping on it, or even spending some time like walking away, walking around the block And just doing Emma's exercise there of 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, 10 years even, I think is so, so, so helpful. So I can't believe that we have been speaking for over 30 minutes now. It is absolutely incredible. I could speak to you for hours. Emma, where can we find out more about you and get involved? Where do you hang out?
Well, the places I can tell you about. Obviously, I have a website. Is that count as hanging out?
Yeah, so the website, all the details will be in the show notes after, but
because I said my main objective for this year, I'm trying out something new again. I don't want to be just within the restraints of a business, which is too many obligations and takes too much of my time. I want to be free. Imagine, watch this space, to freewheel into a variety of projects. So I'm looking for collaborations. And that's why the Level Up Queen is I'm doing consultancies in groups or with individuals, and I do something called a barnstorming brain dance, which is getting really popular. So either, I can't remember, it's on my website, but I literally will take you through my own process, what I do when I'm creating something new. So it's all very...
Oh, wow. That sounds amazing. A barnstorming brain dance.
The people that have done it so far, it's a fairly new thing I just launched at the end of last year, but just to throw you into a different perspective from a different place, and I'm quite brutally honest, so I apologize in advance, but I think it's better to be upfront and straight to the point. Amazing. So yeah, I can be found via the website, and if anyone would like a consulting session, then you can always jump on a call and have a chat. And obviously I am interested in getting involved in a range of projects to stimulate my creativity in a range of ways. I'm obviously doing songwriting now for Sony and Amazon. That's when the children's stuff comes up. But again, for me, to feel so alive is to be involved in a cross section of things which are all different. I don't know what the magic number is, about 5 or 6 things, and I obviously manage my time around those, because I feed from one project to the other. So I love the diversity in that.
I love that. I love that. So Emma Boardman, thank you so much for being on the show with me today, for sharing your story and for giving us proof of what's possible when we think outside of the box and we trust our intuition, we let go and we level up. So thank you so much for being with us. I look forward to seeing you all again next week when we'll have another guest sharing their story. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and keep washing your hands.